you feel like, okay, this feels uncomfortable. And so with the tower, they have footage of her falling for him, but they haven't released it because he doesn't want to go down that route. He doesn't want to break up the family, but he needs to acknowledge, Justin needs to acknowledge the family was already broken. And I think he feels partially responsible because he has the personality type as a people pleaser where he takes on more than he should. He takes more responsibility than he should. And he's taking some responsibility for her flirting with him, but it's not, which I used to do with my old roommate. I was like, if I didn't wear this, if I, I can't believe I used to say that to myself, but that's what I would say. I would say, okay, when I come home from work, I'm going to dress down, I'm going to wear sweatpants when I'm at work, because I used to have to wear these outfits for work, but it's not his fault. It's not Justin's fault, but a part of him still feels responsible. So let's move on to Ryan's energy in this, because Ryan is behind the scenes. He's kind of like her mini director, and I think that's why he fell so in love with her, because he could control her. And I don't know if you guys have ever known this, right? But I've known a few men that are like this, that they have sociopathic tendencies. I don't know if they are sociopaths, but they have very sociopathic tendencies. And they like in the beginning, Hi everyone, welcome back to No Light Time. My name is Hallie. So grateful to have you all. Let's get right into this reading. I am doing an update on It Ends With Us. That is the topic of the year. I've done a lot of videos. I think I've done 4 or 5 videos already on them. So maybe it's not a lot. I've done a few. I do have a playlist up about it. So check out the cards at the end of the video. And please make sure that you're subscribed and you like the video if you like it. It really does help. I know everybody says that, but it's just true. For small channels, especially like myself, it helps me realize or look at when I'm going through analytics what you like, what you don't like, and I think that the community should have a say. So yeah, I also do like to take your comments, so if you feel like you want a reading, something like that, a specific person, write in the comment section. And yeah, let's get into it. So like I said, I'm doing It Ends With Us, I'm doing an update, but I've been accurate a lot about the story. Initially when it broke, I remember I had just gotten out of hospital, so it was around August. It was around August, because I remember when I was in hospital, so sad that I was in hospital scrolling, I suppose life, and scrolling through everything and just looking at people's commentary and stuff like that about what they suspected was the issue behind It Ends With Us, because Justin didn't appear at the premiere, or he did later, and they were doing different press junkets, and which is very uncommon, especially if you know people in film. I've dated people in film, I've dated lots of actors, and just known a lot of people on crew sets and stuff like that, and I'm only saying that to say that it's very uncommon that I've seen of the director doing their own press other than the other actors, because it's supposed to be harmonious and it sends a message that something is wrong behind the scenes. So I did a video about it, and I don't fully remember it, but I will have cards up in the video. But the gist of it was that I said that something else is going behind the scenes, clearly, and that there was 2 different types. Sony came in with Blake and they decided to go more with the money, and I said that Colleen, if I remember correctly, was having financial issues. Now that hasn't been revealed, but it has been revealed that Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively's husband, had a say in the marketing and so forth and so forth. So a lot of it has come out to be accurate. I also did an update, 3 updates since then, and I said that I feel like Ryan had more of an input before he came out, that he did, or allegedly he did. I have also referenced a Scorpio ex that I had who behaved very similarly to Ryan very controlling. You know, I love Scorpio as the sign. But in relationships, the masculine version of Scorpios can be very controlling. And some people like that. I don't like it. It's not for me. I don't like to be controlled with every single thing that I do. But some people like that. Some people think it's healthy in relationships. I don't. So I also picked that up. I picked up that I thought that Blake was planning on jumping ship and was flirting with Justin to see if he would respond, because she wanted to leave her marriage. So I've picked up a lot of this energy, and I wanted to keep doing updates because I find it very fascinating. You know, it kind of reminds me of like a Shakespearean story, even though I do have a lot of empathy and compassion for him and his family, Justin Baldoni. In fact, I bought his book to support him, and I'll continue to buy. When I finish reading this book, I'm going to buy another one to support him, because I think that's very important to do. But from the Blake and Ryan side, it's very Shakespearean, and I love Shakespeare. I think it's like the it's the old era of soap operas, reality TV, that kind of thing, where you can psychoanalyze people's behavior when they're in love, when they're in tragedy, and when they're just so, I don't want to judge them, but Blake and Ryan, I've said from the very beginning, and some people commented that I was lying. I said from the first video that I did, they are not in a happy marriage. And I said that from day one. And I said that they kind of remind me of, and I'm only telling the story because this is how I can relate to Justin, also being a fellow Aquarius. But Justin is in the position that I, not to the full extent, but I felt like that when I lived with a couple. I was 19 and I moved back to New York, and it was my first proper apartment. I lived with this couple. They were way older than I was. He was actually like 40 something, which I should have seen as a red flag, but you know, I was young. I wanted to stop. Me and my sister weren't really getting along, and I wanted to live alone, live away from my family, you know, when you have that era in your life. So I lived with this couple, and they were absolutely awful. And the boyfriend, I forgot his sun sign. I think he was an Aries, now that I'm remembering. But I heard, once I moved out, I heard so many stories about him through other people that knew him that I didn't even know knew him. We met later, and they would tell me like, he's horrible. But he became obsessed with me, and he developed a crush on me. And he would even like, he was an artist, so he would write my name in different calligraphy and stuff like that and have it on his desk, and he's like, I did this for you, you know. Every day I came home and he would like do something for me. And his girlfriend had such low self-esteem that she didn't want to leave, you know. She was clinging on to the idea, especially now that I look at it later as an adult. I can see that she was clinging on to the idea of a relationship. And similar to Ryan, that's the energy that I get, is that, and I think she was also a Sun in Scorpio, actually. She was either Sun in Scorpio or Sun in Capricorn. Because I remember when she told me her, because I've always been into astrology ever since I was a teenager. And when she told me her sun sign, it was a sun sign that was known for being controlling and known for being overbearing. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Even though I was 19, I still understood. But he was either an Aries or Leo. He was a fire sign. And he became very obsessed with me. And he even, what led to me moving out was that he stole my money. And I was about to call the police. She was like, you're not going to call the police. So I decided to just let it go. And I borrowed money from my sister. But I just knew that one day karma was going to get them. You know, I wanted nothing to do with them. And actually karma did. I don't want to say what happened to them, but karma got them. So ever since then, I've always been aware of couples, and I can pick up when a couple is unhappy, you know? If you've ever been around unhappy couples, they don't really like each other. One of them, not in all situations, but you just get the energy that one of them doesn't want to be in it, you know? And they make it very clear to the other person, but the other person is either deluded about it, or they're so attached to what comes with that relationship that they're willing to do anything to make it work or to keep that relationship intact, even if the relationship is done and over. And I see that very strongly with Ryan Reynolds, is that he's clinging on to the idea of what the relationship has brought him financially. Because I believe that a lot of actors, when they get married, especially to pretty younger women, it boosts their career, and it boosts their sense of self, you know. And people look at them differently, because party people are not really taken seriously, but family people in general are. And I think when he met her, it put him in different rooms, you know, because people are like, oh, he bagged Blake Lively, which isn't that big of a deal. But after you've come out of a divorce with a wife that was clearly Scarlett Johansson, who was clearly not around, traveling a lot, didn't really want to be there at the end, you know, him creating this family, and only say in quotation marks because he does have a family, but it was heavily pushed on the public, and I think for a reason. And for that reason, I don't think he wants to leave. But he will at some point, and I've spoken about that. So I wanted to just pull the energies today and just do an update, because I saw something like a headline that said that the New York Times is looking to dismiss the case, and I wanted to update on that. So I'm going to first do Blake and Justin. I have it written down here. I'm going to do Taylor's involvement. I'm going to do New York Times. I'm going to do Liz Plank, and I'm going to do Colleen Hoover. And last but not least, I'll do Ryan Reynolds too. So actually, I'll do Ryan Reynolds after Blake and Justin, just so that it makes sense. So I'm using a Crystal Magic Tarot. I love this tarot deck. I always say that. It's one of my favorites, actually. I don't really like to pick favorites because, you know, it is what it is. And I love all of them except for one I'm not really crazy about that I recently got, but I love most of my tarot decks. Okay, so when I was traveling, I first did my Palo Santo meditation, and I saw a very vivid image of her. So I'm inclined to get more of her energy. And I have said this, that what I depicted or what I pictured when Ryan leaves her, I strongly believe Ryan's going to leave her for somebody younger, because a lot of it's very fascinating to look at their relationship, because he, I believe, is typical classic sociopath. And it's very fascinating to watch someone so personally destructive become successful. And it makes you wonder about what we equate to success in the West, in the Western world. And I love living in the West. It's just interesting that a lot of people in powerful positions are sociopaths. And I'm not talking about politically. I'm talking about like CEOs and, you know, people that run these companies. A lot of our bosses, most bosses are borderline sociopaths, if not sociopathic, if not sociopaths themselves, and how they are rewarded for being so evil and having no conscience. And what draws women to those kind of people, and what keeps them around? Because it's more than money. It's mind games, manipulation, and kind of, they call it webbing in psychology, where you kind of feel entrapped, you know, entrapment. So I have said he's going to leave her, but I see that the focus being on her for the next kind of, he works, Ryan Reynolds' mind, in my opinion, and what the tarot tells me, he works in verses. So hero versus villain. I'm like villain. Hero versus villain. Black versus white. I'm just giving shades and tones, you know, as examples. Bright versus dark. You know, good versus evil. That's how his brain, a lot of sociopaths are very black and white people. And it's helped him create marketing strategies, because he does own a marketing firm, which I found out helped market the movie Blake's Cut, which is so crazy that an actress had the final cut of a movie. So right now his strategy is her. And with the Empress, Page of Wands, the Ten of Swords, he's going to push, or they're going to push, especially with the Empress, that she has overcome something. So he's going to look at her as kind of like a martyr. He's going to project, and we're going to see headlines that Blake survived. Blake is stronger than everybody else. Blake was thrown in the dust by her friends. You know, Blake was done wrong. Blake was betrayed. So everything that's been done to Justin, they're going to focus it on Blake. Blake lost money. Blake's the victim. She's a victim, but she's a powerful victim. And it kind of reminds me of how she spoke about Lily Bloom. How she said she's juxtaposed. I really feel like Ryan told her to say that. Because if you know anything about lots of actors, I grew up with an actress. And I remember when I was a kid, because she was acting since she was very young, she would memorize her lines. She would always have something to memorize her lines. Like we sometimes she'd be in the bathroom too long memorizing her lines, and I'd be knocking on the door, get out of the bathroom, I need to use it, you know. So she probably memorized a speech from Ryan, and it's a similar idea. She's going to make herself into Lily, who she depicted as Lily, not Lily from the book of It Ends With Us, but Lily from the movie. That she's a juxtaposition, she's a this, she's a that. He's very good at dramatizing life. So with 7 of Cups, they're going to succeed in some aspects, but I did predict that they would settle by October of this year, 2025, because with the moon, Justin has something on them that he hasn't released yet. So let's see. Should I even be saying it? Let's see. I'll get like the... So I don't want to, if anybody watches my videos and is for her team, I don't want them to jump too ahead of it. But I suppose if they already have it, then it is what it is. So what does he have? What does Justin's team have? Okay, so it looks like more footage. I see her laughing and going like, being very flirtatious. I see text. We've already seen the text, but a lot of it's footage. And her like, they're going to show the difference between how she was when she got her way versus how she was when she didn't get her way. So let's see. Yeah, so I see her going like... She has a very immature way. It's very sad, actually. I don't want to judge her because I think she was raised, and I've had friends growing up like this. I grew up with a lot of Nepo babies in South Africa, and a lot of them are raised, Nepo babies are raised to be kind of golden children. And I've said this before about Blake, I don't think she's lived enough of life to be disillusioned into reality. And you know, before I started recording this, I was watching a clip and we're talking about people with money living in America. And just in general, if you don't want to hear this, you can always skip ahead. But just in general, people have been asking me, oh, where do you want to live? Where would you raise your kids? And I've recently, and it could change because, you know, life is life. And I don't even know I know if I can't biologically have kids, I'll adopt kids. But the gist of it is that in New York, even when you meet Nepo babies, there's a sense of disillusionment that happens, you know, that is needed. And in Miami, where I live, where I would never raise my kids here, because it's a similar idea to LA. And I'm not saying all Nepo babies or all kids with money that are raised here are like this, but you see a sense of, which I see very strongly in Blake. She hasn't been earthed. She hasn't, and there's something about New York that earths people, no matter how much money you want, everybody's the same, you know? And she hasn't had the rug pulled out of her and had to survive by herself, you know. And you can tell the difference between people that haven't had to survive and by people that have. When you have to survive, and I don't mean in a monetarily way, I mean in a day-to-day situation. So anything, and I don't believe in tragedy making this happen out to people, because she did lose her father. But when there's a difference between having your feet on the ground and not having your feet on the ground. And I don't think she's ever had her feet on the ground. Meaning, had to do things for herself. And that's created a sense of disillusion. It's kind of like people, and I'm not judging you. If you live with your parents, I'm not judging you. But it's kind of like people that live with their parents for a long time in general. When you don't have to worry about bills, when you don't have to worry about the monthly rent, when you don't have to get real about yourself, about your spending habits, you know, hold yourself accountable, and only you can hold yourself accountable. It's different, and it's not wrong, it's just different. That when you've been earthed, it's different, you know. So that's why I get very airy. Even though she's an earth sign, she doesn't give me a lot of earth sign, because a lot of earth signs are very down to earth. But being a Nepo baby, she's never really had to. And a Nepo baby in LA, because like I said, just I think it depends on the city you've been raised in. So 3 of Wands, the Judgment, and Knight of Wands. So she's very, what he has on her is that she was in her like romantic, she gets whipped up, and she kind of has this, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's innocent, but it's oblivious, you know. And she was oblivious, and in her oblivion she was being taped, and they have tons of footage of her flirting with him and rubbing his arm, and he's just like and I think, you know, people say, why do you think she was uncomfortable? Because I've been talking about it with my colleagues too. And in my opinion, why she was uncomfortable in the leaked footage of them doing the dance scene is that, number one, I don't think she's a great actress. And number two, I think she was starting to feel feelings for him. And you know what it's like, you know, when you feel feelings for somebody you shouldn't feel feelings for, it's not comfortable. You're not like, oh yes, let me just embrace this. You know, you feel like, okay, this feels uncomfortable. And so with the Tower, they have footage of her falling for him, but they haven't released it because he doesn't want to go down that route. He doesn't want to break up the family, but he needs to acknowledge, Justin needs to acknowledge the family was already broken. And I think he feels partially responsible because he has the personality type as a people pleaser where he takes on more than he should. He takes more responsibility than he should. And he's taking some responsibility for her flirting with him, but it's not, which I used to do with my old roommate. I was like, if I didn't wear this, if I, you know, I can't believe I used to say that to myself, but that's what I would say. I would say, okay, when I come home from work, I'm going to dress down, you know, I'm going to wear sweatpants when I'm at work, because I used to have to wear these outfits for work, but it's not his fault. It's not Justin's fault, but a part of him still feels responsible. So let's move on to Ryan's energy in this, because Ryan is behind the scenes. He's kind of like her mini director, and I think that's why he fell so in love with her, because he could control her. And you know, I don't know if you guys have ever known this, right? But I've known a few men that are like this, that they have sociopathic tendencies. I don't know if they are sociopaths, but they have very sociopathic tendencies. And they like in the beginning, you know, especially one person that I knew. I'm not going to say how I knew him because I don't want to ruin his cover. I haven't seen him in years though, but when I did know him, when he would meet a woman and they would start dating, I would see the phases of how he would change. In the beginning, he felt revived. He felt like, oh my gosh, I'm so in love with this woman. He would love bomb them and use them as kind of like puppets. So he would test them and test them and test them, and he would talk about it. You know, he would share information with me and other people, because I didn't know him. I don't want to say how I knew him. I knew him on a semi-personal level, but mostly on a work level, on a professional level, excuse me. And in the beginning, he would say he fell in love. He's very in love with this woman, and he had a particular type. They're usually blonde, petite, and being blonde and petite has nothing to do with it. It was just his type. Or maybe it did for him, but for me, it didn't really have a meaning. I just noticed that. And his story of how he fell in love with, I saw him with at least 4 women. And when he would meet them, it was similar to, you know, those kind of, those dolls that you turn them, like the Nutcracker. You turn them in the back, you wind them up, and then they start to do the dance. Blake is giving me that. Ryan and Blake, they give me that energy where he winds her up, and then she says the right thing. She's, my husband. Oh, you know, that very, but at home, he does something to her to control her, and then she comes out like, and it's kind of creepy, but that's what he loved about her, that he could control her, and that she kind of looked like this doll, that she would smile exactly when she, you know, the red carpet, the exact hand gesture, which Virgos are very good at. They're very good at pretending. They are. So with Knight of Coins, Judgment, and the Moon, he has, I wouldn't necessarily say secrets on her, but he knows how to wind her up, and he knows what to say. You know, when you've been with somebody for a long time, you know what gets them moving. You know them. Whether it's for the good or for the bad, you just know them. And because he knows her so well, he knows that she behaves a certain way. She just has a certain way of doing things, and he knows how to make her happy. He knows how to make her sad. He's very good at controlling her. And right now, he's prepping her for trial. So he's using her to see what the public's response is. And if the public response goes well, it's kind of like he's mini testing the jury. You know, he's seeing the public as the jury, which is what he does. He market tests for situations. So he'll post a headline. He'll get a headline posted to see if the jury would respond well to it. But it's only going to get more and more backlash. 9 of Swords, more and more backlash, until they settle in October. But he's very good at controlling her. It's really, really crazy. It's really crazy. But anyway, so let's move on to Taylor's involvement, because I could go on and on. I could tell you stories about my ex Scorpio, but I don't want to really focus on my exes. But it's a very similar situation. My ex gives me very similar vibes. I can't remember that guy. He was a Scorpio. Oh my god, his birthday was the end of October. The one I'm talking about, who fell in love all the time. Wow, I forgot that. It's been a while since I've seen him. And I was cordial with him. I just used to watch him do it. And I didn't want to judge him, but it was just like, wow, I see exactly what's going on. Okay, so let's look at Taylor's involvement in this. Will she be deposed? What's the situation? Okay. So I was very accurate. I did a live about the update about this about a month ago. Actually, I think it was a month and a half, 2 months ago. And I said that Taylor's going to take a little break from Blake, and apparently, allegedly, that is accurate. So with Three of Swords, Queen of Swords, and Ace of Wands, she is very upset about this. In fact, she's the P word, if you know what I mean. She's very, very upset. She feels betrayed. And how she's going to get back at it, the Emperor, she's going to act like, oh, same thing. I'm a victim. It happened to me. You know, they did me so wrong. Four of Cups. I put my faith in Blake, and this is what she did to me. So we're going to hear about that. She's going to do like an interview, a paper interview with the magazine. It might be Vogue. But she's going to do this kind of fake. Like I said, I love Taylor Swift's music, but I just think she needs to be honest with herself. So she's going to announce, and I have said this, I see a fake engagement coming. She's going to announce Eight of Cups, Queen of Wands, Nine of Wands. She's going to say she's been working on herself. She plans on having babies. The Lovers and Two of Coins, and they're going to announce a fake engagement because Lovers is right next to Coins. And it's going to be I don't want to be negative, so I'm just going to leave it at that, but everybody's going to see through it. Let's just say that. Everybody's going to see through it. So she's very good at doing that. She's very good at announcing good news about herself and then saying she's the victim to amplify victimhood. So people will say, oh, look at her, she's just trying to live her life and she's being pulled into this. So let's see. Do I see her being deposed? Because, you know, they have depositions that happen before the trial. I don't see it going to trial, let me tell you that. But let's see. No, she's going to get out of being deposed. Oh, the same cards, wow. She's going to get out of being deposed. She's going to be very strategic. She might even work with Justin's side and say she didn't know anything. I could see that. I could see that very strongly. Okay, so let's move on to the New York Times. Actually, I'm going to switch it up because I don't want to keep getting the same card. Sometimes when you don't switch up the deck, that's what happens. I'm going to use the good tarot pool, the New York Times. So I have predicted that the New York Times is going to settle. I see them settling soon. May. I get May. Something's going to happen in May that's going to force them to settle. So let's see. Okay. So I did picture a rebranding, especially with the Me Too movement being questioned. You know, Candace Owens has just started an investigative series, which I follow along, and it's about Harvey Weinstein, and trust me, I believe Harvey Weinstein is a jerk. I actually did a video about him when I started doing my videos on Instagram, like 4 years ago. And 4 or 5 years ago. No, 5 years ago. Wow. Crazy. So I did say, when I first did this video, people came after me. You know, people wrote crazy things about me. When I did the Harvey Weinstein video, I had so much hate. I was shocked because I predicted that he would be released. And I said that we need to be careful who we're bringing into the courts, because long story short, when you have lawyers like Harvey Weinstein, they'll find every single loophole of anything that the prosecution has done wrong, and it defeats the whole purpose of prosecuting. And I said that that's what he was going to do. I believe he's a scumbag. I believe he has done some of what has been alleged. But I think that they put too much on. You know, when you prosecute, you can't pile on, because then it won't be believed. We believe it, you know, the public. But because they piled on too much, I think they piled on with some people that it was consensual. And I've said this from the very beginning. I said this 5 years ago, and that's when I got so much hate. People told me that I should quit my day job. People told me it was crazy. They told me that I was ugly. They were all these things about Harvey Weinstein. Because I said about Harvey Weinstein, I literally said, I do not like the guy. I think he's a scumbag. I think he has done wrong to some people. I think he should be in jail. But I think he will get out because he has rich lawyers. And they're going to use their power and the loopholes of the legal system to get him out. So you have to be very careful. When you prosecute rich, powerful people, you have to be very careful with how you prosecute them. Because when they go to the appeal court, they will win. If you've done something, you know. So, with that being said, with everything that's come to light about the Me Too movement, with a lot of it being fake, I believe to be, and that's just what has come out too, Megan Twohey is going to be in the spotlight. And I said this before, people didn't believe me. I said Megan Twohey, the two women of the Me Too movement, the journalists, and Ronan Farrow, I said this back when it happened, are going to one day be questioned, and one day be stripped of titles, and one day be denounced. And I think that day is coming very soon. I see New York Times. So funny that I predicted a long time ago not coming to light. But I see, this is what I predicted recently now. I see New York Times having to restructure and say that they were duped. They're going to do a lot of blame, because you know that's what corporations do. Blame everybody else but themselves. And they're going to do a lot of cleaning house. And they're going to become more like of a gossip. Similar to Rolling Stone. How Rolling Stone revamped. They're going to do the same. Just a quick story. I used to work in media. I was a writer for a magazine. I've written a lot for different publications. So I'm not familiar with the back of house with media, because I was a freelance writer. But I'm very familiar with how the media works. And a lot of it is sensationalized, especially, I remember one of the magazines that I worked for, I'm not going to say which one. The man, I wrote an article, and they edited it heavily, and they took my words out of context. And I wrote to them and I said, I appreciate editing, but this is completely not what I wrote. And basically, in a nutshell, he wrote back that we make sure that articles are read. We make sure that people click on them. And we make sure that people finish them. And I just got the memo. Okay, so you're not interested in telling the truth. And that's when I left media. So I see that being a similar circumstance here. That they, especially in this sensationalized era, want to make sure that everything is read. It's not just any more clickbait about, okay, I click on the article, this isn't what I looked for. They want to make sure everything is read. So some of it is sensationalized. Some of it's heavily edited. Some of it's even lies. But if you can blame the lie on somebody else, you get away with it. And I see the New York Times being stuck. 8 of Fire in Reverse, Magician, Hangman. They're going to blame Megan Twohey. And they're going to say, they're going to denounce her as a journalist. They're going to say that they didn't know patients. They're going to say, we had no idea. After doing an in-depth research and investigation, we decide that Megan Twohey was playing a game with us. And with the tower at the bottom of the deck, they're going to have other people that they've done articles on, and say they were lying about this, they're lying about that. Interesting. and start anew. 2 of water, 7 of earth, 9 of water. Start completely anew. And focus more on arts too. Like, they're going to interview artists, stuff like that. But be less of a sensationalized. And they're going to have to pay people. What they're going to do is pay out. They are going to have to pay out. They're going to settle. And after they've done paying out, they won't have any money. Well, they'll have little to no money. And after they've paid people out, they're going to focus more on talent that doesn't have money. Kind of like blogging. They're going to do more blogging, which is what one of the, I don't want to say what it is, but one of the companies that I freelanced for was a similar concept after they had gone bankrupt. So you can Google it and you can see who I used to write for. But one of the companies that I wrote for, they went bankrupt and then they just went to bloggers. So yeah, I see that happening with them. Okay, so let's do Colleen Hoover. She's the last. No, sorry, Liz Plank. I apologize. Liz Plank. And I will have timestamps in the video because it's a long video. But I'm just enjoying this so much. It's so fun. So Liz Plank. Liz Plank was the podcast co-host who quit and is now doing a lot of political stuff, which is very interesting. I feel like it's very funny that a lot of these people that get busted for being kind of scumbag people, they focus on politics, which says a lot. So with the Sun, I'm using the Muse Tarot, by the way. With the Sun, Page of Materials, which is Page of Pentacles, and 9 of Swords. So she's going to release some kind of like book type. She needs to watch out because I see a defamation coming for her too. She's going to say it's going to be something titled similar to Amber Heard. Oh my God, these people. It's going to be like, it's not necessarily a book. It's like a mini. It might be that she contributes, like writes an op-ed with how Amber Heard did with the Washington Post, but she's going to write something and it's going to say working with the sweet monster, something like that, or working with the feminist monster, alluding to Justin Baldoni. And that's going to get her into a lot, 10 of Wands, a lot of trouble. And Ace of Cups, a lot of trouble, because she's going to somebody's going to approach her and say it's the right way to go about things. 10 of Wands, 10 of Wands. And that's how she can save her career. Say it's going to be like, and this is what I really don't appreciate about certain, okay, I just want to quickly mention this Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing, okay? The reason I never believed it, people came after me. I remember I was working, I think I've told this story, I'm going to tell it very quickly, but I used to teach yoga and I worked the front desk. And I remember one day I was working the front desk and my colleague, because we used to be 2 of us checking people in. And after they checked everybody in, she was scrolling the internet. She was like, did you see this? Did you see this about Johnny Depp? And I was like, yeah, but I don't believe it. She was like, you don't believe it? I was like, no, I don't believe it, because I just think, why would somebody... I've had my many reasons for why I don't believe it. I don't remember exactly what I said to her that day, but she lost it on me. She called me all kinds of names. She said I was... a female self-hater, all those words, and I just thought, oh my gosh, this is so inappropriate. Like, this is a work professional setting. You should not be able to call people's names. But I just sat there and I looked at her. She was losing her mind, and I think she ended up leaving. She left. That's how upset she was. And this is one of the reasons I left LA, because I think a lot of people are just out of their minds there, and very victimhood, very... You can't have a different opinion to people. I watch many people. Candace Owens, I watch her almost daily. I have very differing opinions to her. It's healthy to watch people. unless they're committing a crime. It's healthy to watch people that you disagree with because it shows maturity and it shows that you can handle a different opinion other than your own. And this whole idea, I can only listen to what people that I think like me, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. You'll never grow, you'll never learn, you'll never be. It's okay to look at somebody or watch someone and say, I don't agree with that, but it's an interesting point, and not lose your mind over it and not have to leave your job because of it. So I remember how outraged people were. And that outrage was concerning. And that's what made me think, what else is going on? Why are people with the Me Too so heavily focused on believe this or you're a bad person? Because if you don't believe someone, you're not a bad person. You just don't believe them. And you have every right to not believe a person, especially if you don't know them. So it's the similar energy here where she's going to say that because she's not believed, people are misogynist, people are haters, people are extremists. And everything she's claiming they are, she is herself. So the Hierophant, Empress, and Six of Swords, she's going to say she's leaving. Well, she is Canadian, but she's going to say she's leaving the country because she can't handle the backlash. She's going to make herself heavily a victim. And as women, we need to be honest with ourselves. Are we strong or are we weak? Because if we're strong, we don't leave a country because we disagree with who the president is. If we're strong, we don't call people names because they don't agree with us. If we're strong, we take the mature stance. Because I see a lot of weak here. So this whole strong girl boss mentality needs to be put into action. This is not action. This is just virtuous. And for clickbait, Five of Swords, for Ace of Swords, you see Five of Swords, how there's a lot of followers, to get followers. So we really need to, people in general, I'm only talking to women because I am a woman, and I see it happening a lot with women. It happens with men too. I don't want to say it doesn't. But specifically here, she is a woman. And I've seen this especially in the US. I see it also in Canada, in the West, where women, and I don't want to say our struggles are trivial because they're really, really not. I've been through hell in some circumstances. But if somebody doesn't see my story, I can't make them. Because that makes me weak. If I'm trying to force them hear me and force them to think how I think that they should think. That's not the point of living. I don't know if that makes any sense. Okay, so last but not least, Colleen Hoover. I think I'll just keep it the same. But basically she's going to cry wolf. Lots of crying wolf. Which is very unfortunate because I think that takes away from the feminist movement, which don't get me started on that. Okay, so Colleen Hoover, let's see. I predicted financial problems, which is the reason why she went along with Blake and Ryan. She is also Sun and Sagittarius, and other than my ex, Sun and Sagittarius, great guy, phenomenal guy. Other than him, I have not had good situations. And my cousins are cool, but they're Sagittarius. Other than that, I've not had good situations with Sun and Sagittarius. They can be very flaky, two-faced, selfish. Okay, let's see. Okay, so it's only going to continue to get worse for her. Colleen is quiet because she doesn't want to get sued. She was planning on coming out and doing similar to Liz Plank, like an op-ed, something like that, which I think is very virtuous, and they just want attention for it, but that's just my opinion. She was planning on doing something similar to that, but it got blocked. And with Nine of Swords, the Hierophant, and the Priestess, she is scared. She knows something's coming, and she's very scared. She might have Taurus, like a rising Taurus, something like that. She's also scared about her future projects. She's very scared. She's terrified, actually, right now. So somebody's coming along, the lovers, world lovers. It's a guy, masculine energy, might be a Gemini, who's going to kind of promise to get her out of situations. Six of Wands, who's been watching her. Let's see, because it seems like a promise. It doesn't seem like the real deal, which I think has been, unfortunately, a thread of her life. Let's see. So this person's going to promise her to get her out of her financial mess, but it's not going to work. The Wheel, Five of Pentacles, Two of Swords. It's not going to work because this person doesn't have money. I think they're going to try to say, oh, okay, I'm going to market. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you market. We can do a show, a mini series about something, but it's not going to work. Because, you know, the thing about karma, and this should be a lesson to everybody. We all think we can run from karma. You know, karma's taught me too. Karma's taught me too, because I'm not perfect. And especially when I was younger, I used to think I'd get away with things. And clearly, all of us, none of us can get away with things. So some of us, karma happens to us in that moment, and we realize, and we think to ourselves, I should not have done that. This is my karma. But people that think that they can escape karma, when their karma comes, it's on display for everybody as a message. And that's what's going to happen with her. It's going to be on display for everybody as a message to not live, not cheat the way she has, not treat the people which people has. She has. I think she's done this in the past. In fact, I can see it in the past where she's bait and switched people. And the bait and switch for people, the bait and switch for how she's done that in the past, it's all going to come back. They're even going to come out and tell stories. They're going to come out and talk about it. So that's what I have for you guys. I have another one soon. I want to give it a little bit of a rest, but please stay tuned. Please like it if you liked it. I love you all. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.